This is 24-hour News 8.
A senseless stabbing, a 9-year-old killed at a Kentwood playground. Now the 12-year-old suspect is charged with open murder, the youngest person ever charged with murder in Kent County.
Tonight we are working this tragic story with team coverage. Heather Walker is at a peace rally happening right near where this killing happened last night. But we do want to start with Ken Colker, who was in court this afternoon when that young boy was charged. Ken?
Yeah, Brian, 12-year-old Jamarion Lawhorn is not only the youngest ever charged with murder in Kent County, but he's no doubt the tiniest. He looked more like an 8-year-old as he walked into court wearing shackles, then sat next to his mom. At the Pinebrook Village Mobile Home Park yesterday, he asked 3 boys he didn't know, including 9-year-old Connor Verkerke, if they wanted to go play with him at the playground.
There were 3 boys at that park. He picked a random one.
So it could have been your son.
Could have been the other kid, too. Could have been anybody.
Lawhorn, who turned 12 in March, was charged today in juvenile court for killing 9-year-old Michael Connor Verkerke, whose family called him Connor. We're identifying Lawhorn because he is charged as an adult and because of the seriousness of the offense. Tiffany Armijo's 9-year-old son was one of the 3 boys approached by Lawhorn. He witnessed the attack on his best friend. So did a 7-year-old boy. Her son told her that Lawhorn walked up to them in the mobile home park and asked if they wanted to play.
He came to, on our street and got the kids to go to the park.
Her son told her they all then went to the playground together.
The kids were talking to him, asking him, where you from, what you doing?
Then her son told her he pulled a knife out of the sand and started stabbing Connor in the back.
It was random. There was no reason. It wasn't provoked. They weren't fighting. There was no words exchanged. It was just malicious.
Connor ran to his home and collapsed. Her son ran to his home across the street.
Lock the door, lock the door. Everybody get in the house. He was scared to death.
Lawhorn ran to a nearby house and called 911 himself. Said he had taken pills, stabbed somebody, and wanted to die. Police today were trying to confirm that the attack was random. So the big question now is just the why, right?
I think so. I mean, I think everybody in the community wants to know why. You know, what brought us to this point.
The suspect lives about a block west of the mobile home park. He has no record, no contact with juvenile court. Relatives, including his mom, were in court with him today, but left without comment.
No, thank you.
Connor's family said they were too shaken to talk, but his best friend's mom remembered a boy who often brightened up her home.
He was over at my house every day. He always had a smile on his face. He was a very happy kid, very energetic.
She says she has not told her son that his best friend is gone. I mean, how do you explain this to your son?
I have no idea how to explain it to my son. I haven't even thought about it yet. I've been dreading it all day.
We are getting some troubling new details about the life of Kent County's youngest suspected killer and the question, did Child Protective Services drop the ball? Target 8 is uncovering deplorable home conditions, including drugs and a history of child abuse. All conditions Jamarion Lawhorn was living with before he was accused of stabbing 9-year-old Connor Verkerke.
What we're finding raises questions about whether the state should have moved sooner and if that would have stopped this heinous murder from happening. Target 8 investigator Ken Colker is here now with what he discovered. Ken.
Yeah, Brian and Sue, these court documents show Jamarion Lawhorn's mom has a long history of child abuse cases involving broken bones, apparent cigarette burns. Since the murder, the state has taken steps to permanently take away her 4 children, including Jamarion.
Anger is a justifiable emotion, but it's worse than anger. You can't be mad at that child, the 12-year-old.
But he says after learning more about the boy's background from Target 8, he can be mad at Jamarion's mom and the state.
What are you going to do to the state? I don't know what you do to him. Consume him, I guess. I don't know if that won't change anything.
Jamarion Lawhorn stabbed 9-year-old Connor Verkerke to death on a Kentwood playground for no reason other than that he wanted to die himself. He told police he had always been in trouble and had gotten teased in school, but those reports mentioned nothing about the abuse he had suffered at home or his mom's long history of abuse. Within days of the killing, the state removed Anita Lawhorn's remaining 3 children, ages 2 to 14. Jamarion is still locked up. Last week, it petitioned to take away her parental rights to all four.
She should be held criminally accountable.
In what way?
Well, not only for what she did to her son, but maybe for what her son did to my grandson.
Records show a long history of abuse. Anita Lawhorn voluntarily gave up 2 other kids in 1999 in New York after her 1-year-old daughter was found with 4 broken bones and her 3-year-old girl had apparent cigarette burns on her chest. In 2004, Michigan Child Protective Services investigated her for child abuse. Then last year, it substantiated allegations of child abuse against her and the stepdad. Jamarion was the victim. They went through parenting programs, but they were not charged with abuse. Then, after the playground stabbing, police found a home not fit for kids. Cocaine paraphernalia in the bathroom, no utilities, no blankets or sheets on the beds. They also found bruises on Jamarion. He said that his stepfather put them there. Records show both the mom and the stepdad recently tested positive for cocaine. Today, Connor's grandfather says it's clear that Jamarion needed help.
Yeah, maybe even a hug would have done, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe Connor could have gave him a hug. Yeah, I'm sure he would have given him a hug. If he'd known he needed one, he'd have given him one. He was that kind of kid.
We tried to reach the mom, but it appears her home is now vacant. Records show she was being evicted.
Live, this is 24-hour News 8.
Tonight, lawmakers are pushing for answers into the case of Jamarion Lawhorn, the 12-year-old accused of stabbing a 9-year-old to death. Why did CPS workers apparently violate state law by not taking steps to remove Jamarion from his abusive home a year ago? Well, tonight, a former leader of the agency that investigates CPS is speaking out to Target 8 investigator Ken Kolker, saying Jamarion's treatment by the state is not unusual.
But if someone doesn't follow statute, if the statute says shall seek termination.
That's a clear violation of the law.
And if someone doesn't do that,
yeah,
shouldn't they lose their job?
You would think so. You would think so.
Charlotte Smith is former acting director of the Office of Children's Ombudsman, which investigates children's protective services. When she started at the office 18 years ago, her boss was optimistic.
We'll create a good system, we'll work our way out of a job. Well, 19 years later, the OCO was still there.
She recently resigned after Governor Snyder appointed somebody else to lead the office. But she has followed Jamarion's case, wonders what kind of desperation led a young boy to kill 9-year-old Connor Verkerke on a playground. It sounds like that 12-year-old should not have been with his mother.
Yeah, if that's the case, if he shouldn't have been with his mother, then none of this would have happened.
She says there's little doubt that CPS violated the law by not trying to remove Jamarion from his mom a year ago, after she had abused him and after she had lost 2 kids years earlier in New York over abuse. It's a scenario, she says, that she's seen too often.
And the laws and policies are really good here in Michigan. It's just a matter of compliance, which is something that is seen over and over and over again.
In fact, her office last year recommended CPS workers file petitions to terminate parental rights when the law requires it, as in this case.
It is troubling. They train their workers to do this. It's unknown to the Children's Ombudsman's Office exactly why it doesn't happen, be it a misunderstanding of the law, forgetting what they're supposed to do, overwork. It's kind of hard to pinpoint why.
I'm Target 8 investigator Ken Kolker.
State legislators are planning a joint House-Senate committee hearing to get answers from CPS, and they hope to hold that within the next 2 weeks.
Dealing with tragedy a month after their 9-year-old son was stabbed to death by a 12-year-old boy, Connor Verkerke's parents still have trouble sleeping. They are haunted by images of their son dying on their front porch.
We've just learned that the state has opened an internal investigation into Child Protective Services handling of Jamarion Lawhorn, the boy who admitted to killing Connor.
This comes after our Target 8 investigations exposed that his mother was being looked at for child abuse last year, and because of past cases, Lawhorn should have been removed from her home before the stabbing.
Tonight, Connor's parents want to share their little boy's true story. They sat down with Target 8's Ken Kolker.
Yeah, the first thing they want people to know is who Connor was, a boy who should have started the 4th grade this week, who always watched out for his 3 little brothers, who loved to play soccer, loved to dance, and play in the dirt.
Connor changed my life. I think that your first kid always does that. Yeah. He changed everything. He made me a better person. He was always so naturally compassionate and loving, and it inspired you to emulate and just
to always want to do better.
He was so genuine about it too.
What also amazed them was how easy it was for Connor to make friends.
They made so many new friends this summer. They accepted everybody into their group.
Which is what happened on August 4th when Connor, his little brother Cameron, and their best friend James went to the playground within view of Connor's back door with their new friend, just like any other summer day.
10 minutes later, everything
fell apart.
Yeah.
Connor ran home with his 7-year-old brother Cameron.
He grabbed him up under his arm and basically they ran together.
To their front porch where Dad, trained as a first responder for his job at an industrial plant,
I immediately knew the situation was bad.
As Mom held Connor's hand, Dad tried to stop the bleeding while kissing his son's forehead.
He was saying that he loves us, and he kept trying to roll over so he could look at me and Jared. The last thing I heard him say was when they were wheeling him into the ambulance, he said, "Mama."
It was later that night they learned that the new friend, 12-year-old Jamarion Lawhorn, had stabbed Connor repeatedly in the back with a kitchen knife taken from his home down the street. Not until later did they learn why, that he wanted to die himself. Since then, their life has almost stopped. They're living at Jared's mom's condo. Neither has gone back to work. They couldn't bear to go to their son's vigil.
It's like getting sucked into a whirlwind that you can't get out of, and you can't make it go away. Everything keeps replaying over and over and over.
Connor's mom often wraps herself in the blanket she made for her son.
I sleep with it every night now. It helps. It helps, like make it feel like he's still close to me.
But they keep getting out of bed for their 3 younger sons.
When I get into my car, I turn it on, put it into gear, but before I move, I tilt the mirror and do a head count. And it messes with me when I only count 3 heads.
Somehow, though, they found room for forgiveness.
At Connor's memorial, Jared's mom spoke about opening the gates of the village and letting everybody in, helping everybody to work as a community, to be compassionate. And words are nice, but you have to take action too.
They heard that Jamarion's mom, Anita Lawhorn, had been walking through their neighborhood, looking to apologize to them. So Connor's mom and grandma tracked her down. Soon they were standing outside Jamarion's home with the young killer's mom and stepdad.
He was so shaken up, like he couldn't even look at us. His back was turned to us. He was bawling his eyes out. He kept hugging and saying how sorry he was and mumbling about Connor and just how awful. He was so broken up. Anita, she cried. We hugged and we talked for a bit. She said she was sorry. We told them that we forgave them.
Then Connor's mom did something that Jamarion's mom could not believe. Gave her a card with $150 inside. Told her to use it to buy groceries for her 3 other children.
When she found out that there was money in the envelope, she broke down crying, saying, she was saying she just didn't understand why we would help her after what her son did.
Boy, Ken, this story doesn't get any easier. It's still absolutely heartbreaking. The parents there were trying to reach out to Jamarion's mom.
Yeah, that was, they saw that she was also suffering a loss, but that was before they found out about the history of abuse in Jamarion's family and how CPS handled that abuse history.
A killing on a playground that shocked West Michigan. Now, 4 months after 12-year-old Jamarion Lawhorn stabbed 9-year-old Connor Verkirky in Kentwood. The state is ruling the Child Protective Services made mistakes. They even broke the law. It's now leading to statewide changes that could protect children in the future.
Target 8 investigator Ken Coker's report earlier this year prompted this state investigation. And tonight he spoke with Connor's parents about the results. Ken?
Yeah, Brian and Marley, as they prepare for Christmas without their son, Connor's parents are at least grateful for this, that his death is leading to change.
We're struggling with trying to do Christmas this year. And
today, he and Connor's mom learned from Target 8 that changes already are being made. Changes that could protect children from repeatedly abusive parents.
We still suffered at the hands of this because somebody didn't do their job.
The Office of Children's Ombudsman investigates complaints against CPS. It found CPS violated state law by not trying to permanently remove Jamarion Lawhorn from his mom a year ago, after it found that she and the boy's stepfather had abused him. The state was legally required to take steps to terminate her parental rights because of her history. She had lost 2 other kids years earlier in New York over abuse involving broken bones and cigarette burns. It was only after Jamarion stabbed Connor on a Kentwood playground on August 4th that CPS filed papers to terminate the mom's rights to 4 children, including Jamarion. The Ombudsman report is leading to a statewide change to make sure CPS follows the law. The Department of Human Services agreed to change its computer system to automatically notify CPS workers when a case requires a petition to end parental rights.
I am really glad to see that some steps are being taken so this doesn't happen to another family or another child like Jamarion or my son.
The Ombudsman report also focused on a second failure, that CPS didn't report the 2013 abuse allegations to Kentwood Police. That has led to training for Kent County CPS workers and their bosses to keep that from happening again. The CPS worker who handled the case has lost her caseload, but said she hasn't been disciplined.
I think it's, again, the system shuffling the ball around. I don't think they're holding anybody accountable where they should.
A DHS spokesman said the agency already is working on its computer system to automatically notify workers when they should start proceedings to permanently remove kids from abusive parents. He called it a priority and said it should happen next year.